So good morning, everybody. First day of fall today. So us sailors that up northern North America and Canada, well, we got to start getting our stuff for, or start thinking of winter and all that. And I'm doing a video here because last night, actually two, Catalina 270 DM'd me or sent me a message through the YouTube, and one of them was through, I think, the Facebook Catalina 270 Facebook page, about what do I do with the fresh water system? How do I set it up in the spring, for example? How do I winterize it? As well as one of them said that he just bought a boat, 270, or he's about to, and he doesn't know how long has the fresh water, in Oklahoma actually. So he doesn't know how long the fresh water's been in that tank. So he wanted to know, how do you drain it and all that. And he also wanted to know if he drains it through the faucets in the kitchen or the head or the stern shower, does that go in the holding tank and all that. So here's the thing, every drain on a boat that's on a sink or a stern shower, of course, drains right through the drain at the bottom of the sink, right through the through hull and outside into the lake or ocean. So that's just fresh water. That's just, the fresh water sinks and all that stuff. So it doesn't go into the holding tank. The only thing the holding tank that you have on board that you need to pump out is for the toilet. Even the sink in the head won't go to the holding tank. It goes outside the boat. Because it's supposed to be clean water, fresh water, maybe with some soap or whatever, you're doing the dishes and all that. So it's relatively benign. Most of it probably biodegradable. But you don't want to have your urine and human solid waste going overboard. Obviously not. Now, the rules change as far as the holding tank and human waste. The rules change whether you're in fresh water or salt water. If you're in fresh water, it's a no-no. You cannot discharge overboard. And yes, many boats will have what they call a Y valve, where you can choose to send human waste from the toilet to the holding tank or overboard through the through hull option. So some of those boats have. If you're in fresh water, that Y valve should be pretty much locked in place. Sometimes Coast Guard will do a spot check and they'll actually lock it in place. They have a special tag that they put on, and like a tie wrap that's identified. U.S. Coast Guard, you can't, if you cut it, you're recorded. So anyways, and if you're in salt water, well, the rule is, actually on my boat, it actually tells me what the rules are. So if you're 3 to say 5 nautical miles offshore in salt water, you can discharge overboard. Some people will argue with me that if you're in a big lake, for example, Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, a big body of water, and you can get 5 miles away from shore in all directions, that you can dump overboard. But, guys, that's really cutting it close to the rules type thing. It is human waste. It is fresh water. So just put it in your holding tank and pump out when you have a chance and all that. I can understand if you're doing a crossing, Lake Ontario crossing, for example, and you're nowhere near land for days on end, and you just you got to do your business. Your holding tank's probably not to full capacity or short capacity or low capacity. So yeah, in that case, you probably don't have a choice. So, but trying to avoid that so we can keep our waterways as clean as possible. Let me get back to the freshwater thing. So let me show you how I set up my freshwater tank, and and then if you guys have any questions, you can always DM me. So let me just turn my camera around so I can show you this. All right. So I removed the CD. I'm exposed to my freshwater tank, my batteries, and also my freshwater pump. So what I did on my boat. So this is the polypropylene freshwater tank. There is an access, a 3-inch access plug there if you want. And I just took it out, cleaned it all, cleaned the threads and all that, and then I put new Teflon on it. But what I did add, I added this 8-inch access here, and there you go. The reason I added that is for a couple of things, and I made it sure that it was big, by the way. And I put it at this end of the fresh water tank, because I wanted to have access to the vent. So there's the vent here. The vent here goes all the way up to your the side, probably underneath your gunnels, or perhaps in my case it's a Catalina, so it's part of a stanchion, lifeline stanchion, where there's two little holes. The reason why is because sometimes, depending on if you have a filter and a vent on the outside of the boat, some bugs like spiders or whatever might make that vent their home. And next thing you know, you have a hard time pumping your water because your vent is blocked. So without having the excess vent unblocked, when water goes out through the pump to your faucets, the water that's leaving the tank has to be replaced by air. So if that vent is blocked, can't do it. So by putting an 8-inch hole access here, which is all siliconed in, you can see I have no screws, it's all siliconed in, is I can access through my handle. I got lots of room. I can go put in a long wire and rotate it so I can clear out the whole valve, as well as put my shop vac in there as well and suck everything out of that tube, so make sure that my airway is always clean. The other advantage of having a big hole like that is if I want to just go ahead and really clean the inside of that, maybe shop vac or whatever stuff, I have access and all that. If I needed access to the access, where that's down there is where the water gets pumped out through the pump, to the water pump, and there's the filter. So you still have access to that if you want. But with that big of a hole, I usually use my shop vac, and I can actually reach with my extensions on the shop vac hose all the way down there to really make sure that's all clean. So what do I do in the spring? Well, first of all, the tank's going to be empty. The only thing that will be in the tank from the fall is probably a gallon of, or 2 gallons of RV plumbing antifreeze, which I will put into the tank in the fall once the tank is empty. I will then turn on each faucet and individually hot and cold each faucet until I see antifreeze coming out of the faucets on the hot and the cold. Remember to do the hot as well, because it will go through the hot water tank as well. Once I have all that done, I'm set for the winter. Come the spring, now I'm going to fill it up with fresh water and then go ahead and pump out again through the faucets individually. I usually do the furthest faucet, which is going to be the stern shower. Camera around here. So I'll probably pump out all the antifreeze, all the fresh water I just put in through the stern shower until I see fresh water coming out. And I know that the antifreeze is all out now. And then I'll use the same thing with the sink in the kitchen, cold water first until I see fresh water. Then I do hot water until I see also fresh water coming out. The hot water side will take a little longer because you've got antifreeze in that tank. It's like a secondary tank, if you will, just like a hot water tank that gets fed from the freshwater tank. And then I do the same thing in the head as well. So cold water first until I see fresh water come out. Then I do the hot until I see fresh water. That way I know all the hoses are completely drained of any antifreeze. Then I continue till, leave the kitchen sink faucet open until the tank is completely run dry. At that point, I'll then shut off the valve for the running or the pressure water, and then I'll fill up my tank one more time, fresh water tank, with fresh water completely. I will flush that out again. The same process. Furthest faucets is the shower and the stern. I'll run it through there and just empty that tank completely one more time. Then finally, I will fill it up with fresh water again, maybe about halfway, and then I'll add about a cup or two of Javex. And then I run that through the faucets until I can smell a little bit of the Javex coming up through the faucet. And then I stop everything and I let that sit for 24 hours. Then I come back the next day, I flush the rest of, or I empty the tank again. And now I'm going to fill it up with fresh water, completely with fresh water. And then I'll add about, 2 capfuls, maybe a googly of Javex in the freshwater tank, and that's just to keep the water nice and sterilized through the system. That way there's no mold or anything like that, no bacteria. Now remember that your freshwater tank, it's not for drinking. You're going to use it to either do the dishes, wash your hands and stuff like that. It's not made for you to take a sip or even boil. If you're going to have spaghetti, I'll use bottled water to boil my water to make some spaghetti or pasta or whatever. I will use that to boil water if I have some sort of meal that's like in a pouch that you put in boiling water for a while. So then I will use that water. But it's really not for consumption, human consumption. It's just as a commodity. So please don't drink that water. The other thing too is during the season when I'm use the water and we have to refill, again through the fill valve flange on the deck, I'll bring my Jabbok, again a little glue 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 before I start, and then I put my hose in and then I fill up the tank and all that. So, other thing, when I'm finally finished putting the water through the system and my tank is completely empty, okay, I will now make sure that my filter is clean. So let me show you that. So now, if I come over here, this here, once the water is clean, you can unscrew this here very easily, and then this will open up, and you have like a metal mesh filter. Just take that filter out, clean it out, in a bucket of water and all that, nice and clean. Put it back in, and then screw this back on, and then now your water filter will be clean. So any debris or anything like that that's in the fresh water tank will be captured in this filter here. The other thing you need to know, if you're like me, so this is not the original faucet as you can see, but you have what they call an aerator here. So I always remove this before I do the whole process, and I clean this out because your antifreeze will coagulate and block and make some blockage. So I always remove this, but just by, well, now I need my pliers, but you just unscrew that, put it aside, clean it if you see that it's got some white coagulation from the antifreeze, and then you're good to go. Once you're finished and you're now using just fresh water, then you put these things back on. So remember to do that as well. The last thing I wanted to show you guys on my boat is, we always wonder, geez, is my tank full or whatever? So what I have here is by Snake River Electronics. And what that does is on each tank, I don't know if I can show it to you. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, it's something looks like a sensor that you actually stick onto the tank, as well as the waste tank. And what that does is it senses the density through the polypropylene walls of the tank. So if I want to see where my water's at, fresh water, all I have to do is press water, and there's my fresh water tank. If I want to see my waste, click waste, and it's telling me. So I got a quarter tank in my waste, and I have a little shy of 3/4 of my and as you can see, the boat's moving. I'm at anchor. The boat's moving, so you're seeing that sensor, it's not afloat, but it's sensing the water is moving inside the tank. So that's by Snake River, and it was on the boat. The previous owner installed it. It's an easy installation, and my God, it's fantastic because I can know at any time. I don't have to go open up anything or take guesswork out of it. I know when I need to go empty or fill up my tanks. So yeah, so that's from Snake River Electronics. Let me get that closer for you so you can, in case you want to write that down. I'll put it on the description as well. And it's all wired up to the 12 volt outlet over here. So I just have to turn that on, and then I have access to that, to the tank capacities. There you go. And so that's what I do to prep my boat, my freshwater tank. And to make sure it's always as clean as possible, the least amount of bacteria and all that, because that can create odors. And you do want to flush. You don't want to try to conserve fresh water on your boat. You want to really use that water. Don't be shy to use it. If you're in a harbor or a yacht club where you can easily fill up your tank, we have access to hoses right at the boat at each slip. So by all means, the more you use it, the fresher the water, of course. So that's it. And about the holding tank, the toilet for the holding tank for the toilet, I do the same thing. So of course I do a pump out and 2 or 3 flushes in the fall before the winter to make sure my tank is nice and empty. Now in my case, I don't have a manual toilet. I have an electric toilet that I installed a few years ago. I have a YouTube video on my converting manual to electric, by the way, so you can take a look at that or look for it. So because of that, the manufacturer, Jabsco, when I spoke to them, they said, no, actually compared to a manual toilet, there's nothing to do. Make sure everything is empty and don't put any antifreeze in there at all. Just let it be and make sure that, just make sure everything is empty. All the tubes and the pipes are empty. So I use my shop vac to do that, to make sure that, through the through hole, once the boat's on the hard, I have access to, I just open up the valve, I suck anything out of that intake, water intake, for the toilet. And then I know that everything is empty and there's no risk of anything freezing or damaging. So listen, I really hope that this information, I don't know if it seemed a little long, but I hope the information is good. and it was helpful. If it is, do me a favor and go ahead and click like on this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, do so as well. And listen, if you guys have a different technique, a better technique to suggest, or that you guys use, I'm really interested in finding out, products or whatever. You'll notice that, I try and be practical by mainly, because I try to avoid, if I can, these expensive marine grade products that I feel sometimes, not all of them, but I feel sometimes it's just a question of labeling. But it's really no magic. There's no secret bullet here. Some products do try, trial and error type thing, but this has always worked for me for about 40 years now. I've had boats all that time, and I've never had an issue. So, listen, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks, guys.